We're starting Be'ez Hashem Siman Samach and haGuela. And this siman is a new subject. It's about the idea of tshuva. It fits in with what he was discussing in the past few simanim about the alleged stories of Zionists who did tshuva after the 6-Day War. But it's about the inyan of how to do tshuva. Let's read this. V'yamrina beperak hakoymetz. The Gemara says in Menachos Daf Chavtes and Beis, Mipnei ma nivra ha'olam hazeh behei. Why was the world created with a hay? Because the Gemara says there that it says Ki beka Hashem sur olamim. The Gemara comments on the unusual wording of the pasuk. Ki, it should say Ki ka Hashem. Ka is the name of Hashem, so it should say because Hashem created the world, right? Ki ka Hashem sur olamim. Why does it say Ki vika? So bika is with yud and hey. So the Gemara says yud. The olam haba was created with yud, and olam hazeh was created with hey, because it says behi baram, and we darshan behei baram. Hashem created this world with a hey. So why was this world created with a hey? Because a hay is shaped like a courtyard that has like a little roof over the outer edge of it, in the shape of a three sides of a rectangle. Shekola, and there's one side open. Shekol haroitze lotzeis yoitze. Anyone who wants to leave could go. So what does it mean to go? To go out of what? Pirish Rashi, haroitze lotzeis mimenu letarbus ra yoitze. Anyone who wants to go and become bad could become bad.
Yeah, that's also in the Gemara Shabbos Kuftal and the Alf-based Gemara.
Right, we're going to quote that soon. So anyone who wants to go down to Gehenna, to leave the derech of Torah and to go down to Gehenna is open and welcome to do so. My time Natalia Kare de hay. Why is the leg of the hay disconnected? So Dei Hadar b'tshuva ma'ayli lei. Because if he wants to do tshuva, he can go back through that opening. In fact, the Gemara li'aylinu behach, li'ayluhu behach. Let him go back through the opening that he went out from. Why do you have to make a separate opening? So the Gemara loy mistayim milsa. It's not going to be successful. So Pirish Rashi v'li lailuhu bahach. Let him go back through the way he came. Bahach pesach tachtoin the nafak bay, the door that he left from. Mashani, the Gemara answers loy mistayim milsa. It won't be successful. Why? De habali taher boy siyua. Because the Gemara goes on to quote the memor of Reish Lakish, and we're going to see it in a second. But he says habali taher misayin. Someone who wants to be matayr himself, Hashem will help him. So, therefore, he needs help from Hashem to fight against the Yetzer Hara. Hilkach avdi le siyua pesach yiseira. They help him by making a small opening. So, Rashi, and let's just finish the Gemara. Reish Lakish, Reb Shimon Lakish, the Reb Shimon Lakish, Ma'adichsiv. What does it say? Im leleitzim hu yalitz v'la navim nitein chein. It says if someone wants to belong to the leitzim, the scoffers, then let him become a scoffer. But if he wants to be a humble person, let him. Hashem will give him chen. He'll give him grace. So what does that mean? Bali tameh, someone who wants to become tameh, poischim loy. They open the door for him. But bali taher misayin oisa. He wants to become tahar. Hashem will help him.
So is that indeed? I'm sorry. Was that indeed? That's why they did. And he said something else, which is
Rashi has really left us without an answer because the Gemara's question was why can't he go back the way he came when he wants to do tshuva? So the answer is Hashem has to help him. So let Hashem help him and go through the way he came. Why is Hashem helping him by making him a small opening on the side? That's really the problem. So just look at the Gemara inside for a minute. Menachos Daf Chavtes.
That komitz means to close. The
komitz is the handful of flour that was taken as from every mincha.
I think in modern Hebrew, kamsan means like cheap.
Yeah, it's not only modern Hebrew. It's real Hebrew also. It's a miserly person. So let's see, miser. Look in the big lines about the first big line. second big line. Ano hachi kakashali. This is my question. Why does it say by Kibaka Hashem through Alam? Why does it say Bika? Kedarash Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai. Elu Shnei Oilamos. These are the two worlds. Shabar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Echad b'Yud, v'echad b'Hei. Echad b'Hei, v'echad b'Yud. One world was created with a Hey, one was with a Yud. Ve'eni Yodea im ha'olam haba b'Yud ve'olam hazeh b'Hei. Im ha'olam hazeh b'Yud ve'olam haba b'Hei. I don't know which one was created with which. Keshu Omer Eila told us Hashemayim v'haaretz b'Hi baram al tikri b'Hi baram ela b'Hei baram. Hashem created them with a Hey. Havei Omer ha'olam hazeh b'Hei ve'olam haba b'Yud. Mipnei ma nivra ha'olam hazeh b'Hei. Why was this world created with the Hey? Mipnei shedoim elach sadra. Shekol ha'roitz alot tzei tzei. My time Natalia kari. Why is the foot hanging? The ihadar b'tshuva ma'ailile. I have a leil bahach. Go back in the way you came. Loi mistay milsa. Kidaresh lakish. Okay, so look at Rashi. Loi mistay milsa. Dehaba. This is what the Rebbe quoted here. Hilkach avdi le siyua pestach yisera. Who imolates hu yalitz, and read with the side gersa. It says yalitz HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yalitz oisoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make him into a leitz. Kloimar poseach loy liyois leitz. Doesn't mean that he'll make him to a leitz. Hashem doesn't help people be bad. He just lets him have an opening to do it. Okay, but again, the question is, why can't Hashem help him to go back the way he came? That's the problem. So let's continue in haGuela now. Because of Amar Shah Zal, Beperak HaKoyim Zal Pi Amavur B'divrei Rambam Zal B'Shmoyne Prakim. The Marsha on this Gemara in Menachos quotes the Rambam Shmoyne Prakim. He says, Ki achoite achar shechata. After somebody commits a sin, he can't completely clean himself from the sin. He has to distance himself to the opposite extreme. And from there he could go into the place of Tahara. Therefore they said, Habali Tar means a person who's outside of the Hay. He left the world, basically. He left where he was supposed to be. Benitma became Tameh. When he comes to do tshuva, he can't go back the same way he came. It won't help. Like he says, like the Rambam says, that you have to go far from where you slipped up. You have to go around the other side. Rashi, and this is where Rashi comes in, that Hashem helps him by making that small Pesach. Rashi zal avdi le siyua Pesach yiseir. Avali bali, okay, the Marsha ends off. Aval bali tameh, but someone wants to become bad. V'oimed b'makom tahara, and he's standing in the middle of the hay, in the good place. V'roitz lotzes, and he wants to leave it. Yesh lo psachim harbe. He has many choices for how to go out. He could go out either way he wants. He doesn't need help doing that because the Pesach that he wants to go out is always close to where he is. So the way I understand this is that when a person messes up, a person falls in his Yiddishkeit or whatever, he does something wrong, there's a reason for it. Let's say he had a nisayon. He went to a place where he joined up with bad friends, people who are doing something wrong, or he read bad books, or he had questions on his emunah, and because of those things he ended up doing averis. So when he wants to do tshuva, he shouldn't go back to the same thing and say, you know what, I'm going to do tshuva. I'm not going to do averis anymore, but I'm still going to hang out with those friends. Or I'm not going to do averis, but I'm still going to read the books that caused me to have the questions on emunah. Right? Mm-hmm. You can't do that. You can't go back the way you came. The Rambam is telling us, and the Marsha is telling us, that you have to go around to the Pesach cotton that Hashem makes for you. The Pesach cotton means there's some other way that's going to bring a person back on the derech. It's not the way he went off. Okay? Al Kapani Mavur Ad Kama Koicha Shel Habali Tame Poischin Loi. You see from this how strong this force of when the person wants to be bad, he has an opening for himself. Shapir's Rashi b'Menachos, who yalitz, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yalitz oisai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes him into a leitz. Not makes him in, Kloimar Poseach Loi Liyos leitz. He opens the door for him to be a leitz. Ad kan l'shoinoi. You know, I think I skipped a line above. I'm just looking back over here before the Marsha. Right before the line about the Marsha, there's another line. Uke'ein zed darshu zal b'mesechus Shabbos daf kuf daled amud aleph. My time akare the kuf tluya. Why is the kuf hanging? Ayin sham. We'll take a look at that Gemara. I wanted to do it, and I realized that we didn't read that line. This is the aleph-based Gemara. So in the wide lines, about halfway to the bottom of the page, there is about kuf and reish here. Reish, kuf, roish, kuf. 1 second. Oh, here we go. Kuf, kadosh, reish, rasha. You hear the last word in the line of the Gemara is reish. So right before that, kuf, kadosh. Kuf stands for a holy person, and reish, rasha. It stands for a wicked person. So my time mahader ape de kuf me reish. Why is the kuf facing away from the reish? I can't look at the rasha in the face. My time mahader ape de kuf. My time here. My time mahadra tage de kuf legabe reish. Why is the crown of the kuf, or the little, crown piece on top of the kuf, why is it facing the reish? If he goes and he does tshuva, I'll tie a crown on him like me. Why is the foot of the kuf hanging? If he wants to do tshuva, he could go back through that way, that hole. Okay? If he wants to go to do tshuva, he could go back in. In fact, the Gemara of let him go around to the bottom of the kuf and go in. The answer is Messiah Leil Reish Lakish, the Reish Lakish, Ma'id Chsiv, and Leitzim Hu Yali, so I love Nidin Chain, Bali Tam Poischin, Bali Tar Messiah Noisai. Okay, but here it's a little different, because here the Gemara is not talking about someone who went off the derech, right? He didn't go out through the bottom of the kuf. He was out already. He was a rasha. Maybe he was brought up as a rasha, right? Mm-hmm. So the question was, let him go around. The answer is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to help him, so he lets him go into the opening. So there, you don't need the marsha. You understand? You don't need the marsha for this Gemara, because this Gemara is very simple. I let him go around. The answer is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to make him easier to do tshuva. But over here, we have in Masechta Menachos, we're talking about the hay. The hay, we have a big question. He went out the bottom of the hay, let him go back in the bottom of the hay. And the answer to that is the marsha. You can't go back and do tshuva doing the same things that you did wrong. Okay? Back to the haGuela now. The EF Shalalates Meoise Pesach Lachsar V'Lashuv. You can't go back in the same way he came out. El Tzarch Siyu Min Hashemayim L'Soivoi L'Tzad Acher. He has to go around with help from Hashem. She Yisrachik Mikatze El Akatze, to go as far as possible from where he was, Miderech Sha'amad Sham, from the place where he was slipping up. Umeata Le'inyanenu. So what does this all have to do with Zionism? So he says, Eilu HaMesamin Ho'einayim. These people who blind the eyes, and mefarsimim dvarim beduim, and they publicize false things. Shenis rabu bali tshuva, and they say there's a lot of bali tshuva as a result of this war. Ein hadash soiv lasan. He said it's not believable. Why not? Ki eich ikare lazeh begeder tshuva. How could such a person be called a bal tshuva? Imadayin roishoy v'rubai malei mipeh el peh. B'deos haminus. If his whole body and head is all still full of false heretical views. The Zionist. And he's a member of the Zionists, he's part of them. It's all just a joke. It's just something to blind the eye.
It was hittel.
Hittel also means a joke, yeah. Vayahatel bohem Eliyahu. Eliyahu made fun of the Nevi'ei Baal. And this is all just a method of the Yetzer Hara to get us to be Zionists. So, what is the Rebbe saying? He's saying that these Zionists that did tshuva, he's saying, let's say they did, but that's not called tshuva because they didn't relinquish their improper views. So, needs a little hesber, because what's going on here? A person is a Zionist his whole life, right? He's coming to do tshuva. Do you want him to put on tefillin and keep Shabbos, or do you want him to go and get rid of his Zionist views and then put on tefillin? Is he saying he can't start with something small? Everybody has to start with something, right? So these people started. Why can't they continue from where they were, and go on? And then eventually they'll learn what Zionism is and they'll reject it, right? What's the Rebbe's problem with people doing tshuva like this? So his problem is based on what he said earlier. He said when someone's coming to do tshuva, you can't just go back one step and say, okay, I'm going to go in the place where I was. I'm just not going to slip up anymore. Because Zionism, historically, these people may have been brought up without any Torah at all. But people, historically, how did Jews go off the derech because of Zionism? First they became Zionists, but they were still frum, right? And then Zionism, brought them to the Eretz Yisrael and gave them a new life. And then they, gave up their Torah, their mitzvahs. So a person can't go back to that stage before he went off and say, okay, I'm going to live like a Zionist, but I'm just not going to drop my Yiddishkeit. You can't do that because you're going to end up dropping it again. He's saying that these people aren't going to stay Bali Tshuva. They started out being completely secular Zionists. Then they're going to go do tshuva and they're going to go back to being from Zionists. Eventually they're going to drop it again because maybe they won't, but their kids will, or whatever the story will be. Eventually it'll just lead back to where it was before. Doing tshuva has to be going around to a different opening and trying to learn about Zionism. So let's say someone would come, a former soldier or something would come to the Satmar Rebbe and say, I want to do tshuva. I want to become a Yid now. What should I do? So the Rebbe would say, stay here. He wouldn't say, go back to the state of Israel and be a soldier and put on tefillin. He wouldn't say that because that's not the way to make a viable tshuva that's going to continue. The way to make a viable tshuva is to say, look, completely disconnect yourself from the people that caused you to go off the derech, and then you can work on doing tshuva step by step. And the person can't go all the way all at once. Tshuva has to be step by step. But the point is, first, stay far away, like the Rambam said, stay far away from whatever brought you to the Nisayan.